That was an absolutely brutal loss. Let's talk about it. All today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, May 9th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We got to talk about Monopoly Go here, the fast-paced game that lets you team up with your friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go now for free in Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Welcome in. Happy Thursday to all. Hope your week is going swimmingly. I don't even want to talk about it. I really don't. It's a tough one. Tigers lose 4-5, 5-4 for those who care about the way that I portray wins and losses or read out scores. This was an unbelievably frustrating loss because there was a lot of good in this game, which makes the loss even more incredibly annoying and infuriating and frustrating. I was really hot after this game, man. That's a tough one, as I know a lot of people were. Obviously, you're now 19-18 and 20-17 with a series win against a first place team. The first place team in your own division was right on the table. It was right there, and you couldn't get out of your own way. So let's talk about what went wrong. Again, we're not going to bury the lead here. The biggest factor in this loss, without a doubt, was the defense. We'll talk about the bullpen. We'll talk about the offense. We'll talk about dumb plays that were made. We'll talk about managerial decisions. We will discuss all of that over the next 28 minutes, 27 minutes, however much time I have left. But this game, with all of that being the exact same, copy and pasted, this game is won with just sound, major league caliber defense. Even if everything else that I just listed stays the exact same. Not only is this game won, this game is won comfortably. It's not even close. Andy Ibanez follows up his fantastic performance from Tuesday with an error that would lead to 2 runs. If he makes the routine, by the way, super routine play. It was a great throw by Zach McKinstry from third. It's 2 outs, nobody on. That's a double play ball on a platter. Ball trickles into center field. 2 runs end up scoring. And even the pitch, or a batter, 2 batters later, when Austin Hedges was up. Austin Hedges is one of the worst hitters in all of baseball and will be. He's just an unbelievable catcher, so that's why he keeps getting work. I love Austin Hedges for that reason. My catcher bias. But he's one of the worst hitters in baseball, year in and year out. And you threw him a sinker, low and in, and you got a ground ball. And it just found its way through the infield. Defense, that's so costly. And then toward the end of the game, Jake Rogers threw a ball that looked like it was intended for Kerry Carpenter in right field for some reason. And the runner gets to third, and another run scores despite the pitchers on this team doing their jobs effectively. 5-4 loss to the Guardians. The Guards scored 2 earned runs. 2. Inexcusable, and it is the biggest reason for the loss. Simple as that. Nothing else even holds a candle to the mistakes that were made in the field. And that's not to say it was a perfect game, obviously. Plenty of other went wrong. They lost. We'll get into all of it. But This game is won if you just can play major league caliber freaking defense. And they couldn't. Again, for what feels like the 10th time in the first 6 weeks of the season. I just said the defense was good yesterday. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. So, what else went wrong in this one? I mean, the rest is all honestly like scattered out throughout the game. This is why I'm so frustrated. Why so many people, I'm sure, are frustrated is because like they should have won this game. That there wasn't a ton of bad. There was, again, we'll talk about more. It wasn't a perfect game, but like you turn a double play and you eat a ball that you threw to Kent, Ohio, and you win by 3 runs, 2 runs, 3 runs. There wasn't a ton of bad outside of the defense, but the defense is so huge. Those mistakes were so costly. But like you weren't overmatched. You weren't overpowered in this game. You had the upper hand throughout most of it, despite the awful defense. Really brutal. In extra innings, Javi made a ridiculous play. This is obviously terrible. Getting thrown out at second base. Look, man, he can't hit for anything. He can't. And when he makes really, honestly, any mistakes, it stings even more because he can't hit for much of anything. It was an awful decision. It looked like he was trying to get a read and cheat the shortstop so that he could advance to third still and do one of his, like fancy base running. He's been a great base runner this year. Again, what makes it even more infuriating. And he was cheating. He was trying to do one of those really smart, high IQ plays that I usually praise him for. He was trying to do that and put off way too much. Way more than he could chew. And he misplayed it. And it's awful. And it's inexcusable and stupid. It also wasn't like the game losing play. A lot of people really upset about it. Clearly, I am too. I don't blame anybody for it. It was a dumb play. But like Riley Green was up next. And by the time Riley Green faced the final pitch in his at bat, there was a runner on second again because of the pass ball. So like, if he stays at second, they just get the guy out, get Valade out at first. That's still Riley Green up with a man on second, 1 out. It's still the situation that we had. So it's not like it monumentally cost you. It was just really stupid. It was embarrassing. I'm not excusing it. Again, there's no way to excuse it. It was really dumb, but it's not like it single-handedly lost us the game. The defense is, again, what lost us the game. You had the top 3 in your lineup go 1 for 14 with 0 walks. It's not a great recipe for success either. We'll talk about the offense. Let's get into that side of things. We'll talk offense. We'll talk what went right. Obviously, Reese Olson there. We'll talk about the bullpen management later in the game in our stuff segment. That was a big talking point after. We'll do all of that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at DoorDash. It's Mother's Day right around the corner, and you should get her something thoughtful on DoorDash. You can surprise her from wherever you are with fresh bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day that much better. Does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur? Is she outdoorsy? My mom, I told y'all yesterday, the biggest bookworm on the planet, would just read all day, every day. If she could, I'm probably going to get her something book related. And I can do that through DoorDash. You can make her smile with anything from anywhere, fruits, flowers, again, bouquets, makeup, tech gear, again, books, so much more. So get all of your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off of your next order up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. Also, got to tell y'all about our friends over at Monopoly Go. We got to pause here and talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. We already talked about that earlier, and I know, but there's just so much good stuff in the game. And Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for timed tournaments, whether you work together and build up each other's boards or play against each other. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you can unlock. There's so much to get. Like I said earlier, unique stickers that you can trade with your friend and complete albums for even bigger prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the board with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends right before you heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go always feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. So most of them have their own unique mini games that are so fun, digging for treasure, etc. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover on Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it for free in the Google Play or App Store. Game on. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will be back tomorrow for an off day episode. Talk about some few things going on around the organization, some, potential moves, I guess, that could be made. We'll preview the weekend, all that kind of good stuff. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the free 24/7 streaming channel. Locked On hosts all day long and night long, I guess, giving you the biggest stories from the sports world. You can subscribe on YouTube or watch through the Amazon Fire TV channels app. So we're talking about what went right and what went wrong in this 5-4 loss to the Cleveland Guardians. We talked about the top three in your lineup going 1 for 14 with no walks. Not going to get it done. Ride the green 0 for with 3 Ks. Winfield Perez 0 for. Andy Ibanez follows up with the error and then just goes 1 for 5 at the plate. Look, the offense in this game, honestly, they got diced the first couple of innings. And they had a fantastic fourth inning. And then they sat down and did absolutely nothing the rest of the game. The exact thing, verbatim, if you are an everydayer, that I talked about yesterday. Exact thing. They'll pop a starter sometimes, right? Knock them out of the game in the third or fourth, fifth inning, get a lead, and then go 3 up, 3 down the rest of the entire game. Completely uncompetitive offense from the fifth inning till the end of the game. And it'll go completely overlooked because they should have won anyway, despite it. They had a lead and blew it. People are going to look at the bullpen. Obviously, again, I think the defense is the biggest factor, bigger than the offense, but this happens all the time. They got shut out for 8 innings. They got actually 9. I forgot it went into extras. They got shut out for 9 innings. They got shut out over the course of the equivalent of a full game. But they had one really good fourth inning and were about to sneak out a victory. Offense continues to be this team's biggest Achilles heel. Not news or a surprise or new information to anybody listening to me say that. Let's talk about what went right in this ball game. Reese Olson, 6 innings, 1 hit, 2 runs, only one of them earned. It should be 0 earned. 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 2.52 ERA on the season, and is 0-4 on the year. And pitching wins and losses don't matter from an analysis standpoint. They don't matter from I think somebody's better than somebody else because they had more wins or less losses or whatnot. But I'm sure from a competitor standpoint, it eats at you to not be on the mound when your team gets wins. Kenta Maeda is, the Tigers are winning games when this dude's giving up 6 runs. Reese Olson can't buy any run support. He finally gets a little bit in this game. I think they doubled his season run support or close to in this outing alone, and the defense completely implodes behind him. Frustrating. But he was absolutely fantastic. I know I bring up his lack of fastball swings and misses all the time, and I'm probably going to continue doing so. But he had some huge called strikes with his fastball and his sinker in this ball game, and I really didn't mind the heater at all in this ball game. Great movement on it, great command on it. I really liked it, and the reason why I liked it, despite the lack of swings and misses, more than anything, was because it set up his changeup, which I thought was masterful. It was absolutely beautiful. He threw it a lot in this outing. The fastball set it up all outing long. Really awesome sequencing throughout this entire game. A lot of changeups up and away to lefties, then changeups low and in or low and away to lefties. That's really tough. And for a lineup that is so lefty heavy, to be on this side of it and look as good as he did is I think fantastic. And you can say that about every pitcher really, except for Kenta Maeda this entire series. Um, I was pretty impressed, especially with the starting pitching. Again, obviously sans Maeda. But yeah, if the fastball isn't going to be a big swing and miss pitch, then it better be setting up the changeup or a ground ball pitch. And in this game, he got a boatload of ground balls as well through via his sinker. The slider was incredible, as it always is. This was a fantastic outing, and he kept his head down. And like, again, even the runs he gave up in the second, like, he got the ground ball. He executed his spot. He executed the pitch. It just got its way through, and those runners shouldn't have even been on base anyway. Just, does any pitcher in baseball have worse luck than this dude? Genuinely. So far this season. Not like ever. But like, for real, does he? I don't know. I was ready to really pump the tires and call him the MVP of the game and really pray. And I guess I still did, but it's just really frustrating that they couldn't have. It's awful, honestly, that they didn't get this win for him. Kerry Carpenter looked good at the plate. Really needed that. He's been struggling the last couple of weeks. We talked about that on yesterday's show. 2 for 4 with 2 doubles. Both were just a few feet away from being home runs as well. Colt Keith, seeing him get an RBI was nice. Zach McKinstry, a rare great day at the plate for him. And then the 4th inning was, again, good. Solid 4th inning from the team. It really made Bybee work. That inning was the inning that you want to showcase and be replicable. But it's just been proven all season, and honestly the last couple of years, that it just isn't yet on a consistent basis. But like, that is what you want your offense to look like, right? This team is not going to put up a ton of runs on a consistent basis. They're not going to score 7, 8, 9 runs on even a remotely consistent basis. Okay, it's not going to happen. But they can make pitchers work. They can grind out at bats, and they can put a couple of runs on the board. 4-run 4th inning is a great, great, great sign. And then the rest of the game, they didn't look like that even remotely. So, good job for 1 inning. And you got, again, shutout for 9. Oh boy. Frustrating stuff, Okay. Let's keep it rolling. Let's get into stuff. Haha, frustrating stuff. That's about as smooth of a transition as you'll find, and it was completely on accident. We'll get to that right after this. Got to talk to y'all about our friends over at Prize Picks. Look, spring training is well behind us now. Baseball season is in full swing. We're almost a month and a half into the year. So don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Picks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Picks entries today. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks as you and the world's best players take the game to a whole new level during basketball's postseason. Again, basketball playoffs, electric factory. Hockey playoffs, electric factory. And there is so much action to get in on. And again, just baseball. I love looking at the strikeout numbers for more or less on the starting pitchers that are going on any given day. It's part of just my routine at this point. And again, a lot of fun playoff stuff as well. Point totals for basketball. A lot of fun stuff in hockey as well. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, Locked On MLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, everybody, welcome back here to the third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all greatly for tuning in, even after the incredibly frustrating loss that was the 5-4 loss to the Guardians on Wednesday afternoon. Let's talk stuff. We're going to talk bullpen management here. It's going to be a bulk of the stuff conversation. This was a huge talking point after the game. And I'm not here to convince you one way or another, but I didn't really have an issue with how the bullpen was managed. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating it. This game is way more about awful defense than anything else for me. We can break it down a little bit more, right? Foley, I understand on a base level, Foley is your highest leverage reliever. People are going to look at that and go, what the heck? Why did he not get, the ninth inning? A few things that are factors here that went into what at least in my head, went into this thought process. One, he was throwing 96 today and bottomed out at 95. And he hasn't been getting swings and misses lately at all. If you're an ERA person, actually, he has the highest ERA of any reliever that entered the game in this one. No one else, Joey Wentz and Alex Lang are sub 1 and Chafin sub 2. Foley's around 2.5 as it stands right now, and that's still a really good ERA. And I still think he's your best reliever. Do not get me wrong. I love Jason Foley more than anything. I still think he's your best reliever. I only bring up the ERA for, again, to help with context here. But lately, he has objectively not looked the same. The first few weeks, this dude was pumping 99 to 101 mile an hour sinkers and getting swings and misses consistently. And that was the big thing going into the season. I was like, yeah, I don't think he can be a high-end closer because he can't get swings and misses. First 2-3 weeks, he was getting plenty of them or enough of them because it was 101, 100, 99 with movement. And I was like, well, I guess he's your closer then. He's getting swings and misses. Awesome. He hasn't looked anything close to that for a week and a half now. I'm more worried about his arm and his health than really anything else. This game, much more big picture conversation there. You really need him in your bullpen. Having that, ground ball rate and having that weapon out of your pen is so valuable. Also, as we've talked about a lot, this Cleveland lineup is almost all lefties, and they had some on their bench too, waiting for, Foley to come into the game. Obviously, Manzardo, who got a hit off of him. Last season, Foley had a 300 batting average against and an OPS around 850, in the mid 800s against lefties. It's been much better this year, admittedly, but again, he hasn't looked the same the last week and a half. And with most of those Guardians being left-handed hitters, to me, it wasn't that much of a surprise. It wasn't a bad decision for Foley to get the bottom of the lineup and have it turn over and probably go to Chafin in the high leverage. Joey Wentz got a high leverage opportunity and was fine. He again, a lot of lefties. We kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday. He's been good. He's been great this year, obviously. And again, as I said earlier, Jake Rogers airmailed, sent a ball into orbit. And that's the only reason that a run was scored. It was an unearned run to Joey Wentz. The only gripe I really had with Wentz was giving up the hit in the first place to the 9-hitter when, that's the reason you're brought into the game is pretty frustrating. But that run shouldn't have scored anyway. And then Chafin, I mean, you're not going to find somebody, in me, you're not going to find somebody who is who is going to talk down on how Chafin has looked this year. He's looked absolutely phenomenal this season. And he's a specialist, again, against lefties. And he's been good against both righties and lefties. And he gave up the homer to a righty, obviously. But that pitch wasn't a bad pitch. It was a sinker low and away. It might have even been outside of the strike zone. The ball went 334 feet and had an expected batting average of 100, dog. Like, and then like going to Lang there at the end, you used Holton yesterday. I don't think you were going to go, Holton again necessarily. You went to Lang in the last out of the ninth, and then obviously the 10th. You need your best swing and miss pitcher in extra innings with the Manfred runner. And Alex Lang, for all of the faults that he still has, is objectively your best swing and miss pitcher. So that's why he got the 10th. Now his pitch was awful. His pitch in extras was absolutely terrible. The one that lost in the game. That was I'm not sure. Seriously, that's one of the worst pitches. And like it'll go completely overlooked because people are paying attention to other things with this game. But that was terrible. It was a meatball down the middle. Didn't execute his pitches. Again, like the defense. The defense was awful. Your offense got shut out for 9. Talking about extra innings specifically, the defense there in extras. You brought in Winfield Perez to have the 5 infielders. I mean, the runner was scoring on that ball at the end of the game. That's a sac fly that you're going to lose the game anyway. I didn't really have an issue with it. It's really frustrating to hear about defensive priorities from the front office all season so far. And we have just lost so many games already, 5-6 weeks into the season, because of brutal defensive mistakes. I think that's coaching, right? Just because I don't have an issue with necessarily the way that the bullpen was managed at the end of the game. I don't think that was the reason they lost this game. Doesn't mean I haven't had legitimate gripes about the coaching over the last 4 or 5 games. We've talked about them a lot on this show. And again, the roster construction, front office, everything, right? It's really frustrating to be constantly told we're prioritizing defense, we're prioritizing defense, we're prioritizing defense. And then 5 weeks into the season, you have a ton of errors. You're losing quite a few games. It feels like a couple a week. That might be a slight exaggeration, but it certainly doesn't feel like it at times because of your awful defense. And like they don't grade out terribly defensively, and they go through stretches where they look really good. They started the season really well defensively. We'll see how the rest of the year goes. I'm not deeming this like the worst defense in baseball or anything, because they're not, and they won't end up being the worst defense in baseball. It's frustrating. So that's kind of where I stand on the bullpen management. I know that some people are going to disagree. A lot of people are mad at Hinch. That's totally fine. If you're one of those people that just looks at it and goes, you know what, the bullpen decisions that were made didn't work. That's all that matters for me. Then there's nothing I can say to convince you otherwise. If that's your mindset, right? That's just because the decisions they made clearly didn't work. But again, I am much more hung up on the brutal mistakes that were made in the field than I am anything else with this game. I think it's absurd. And again, the offense getting shut out for 9 innings. That's great. They scored 4. They still looked how they have all season for the equivalent of a full game. 1 for 5 on the road trip sucks. Sucks because, well, a lot of reasons, fairly obvious ones, I feel like. But you didn't get pumped, right? You didn't get smacked around in all 5 of these losses. The margin of victory in these games, we'll start with last Friday's game, right, against the Yankees. 1-2, 3-5, 2-5, 1-2, 11-7 win, 4-5. That's 3 1-run losses, a 2-run loss, and a 3-run loss. All of those are winnable games. Winning is on the table in all of them. They're close and competitive, and you do just enough bad to be on the losing side of all of them. Some mistakes, some managerial mistakes, some defensive mishaps, and more than anything, still, don't get it twisted, more than anything, number 1 on the list, offensive limitations. Sucks. Got an off day today as you're listening to this. You have Houston at home this weekend. The debut of the City Connects will be kind of a fun twist to the weekend for some people. I think it'll be a miserable twist to the weekend for some for a portion of the fan base. The Astros, we'll do a more in-depth preview tomorrow, obviously, on the series, do a true, series preview ahead of the weekend set against the Stros, but they've been terrible this year. Their pitching has been rough. Their offense has been inconsistent, I would say. They are on a 3-game losing streak at the time of this recording. We'll see what they have going into the weekend, but they've had a really, really rough year. Do not be the Houston Astros get right game, series, whatever. Don't do it. Take advantage of a team that's spiraling. And then you have the Marlins after that, who legitimately might be like, well, the White Sox are bad, but the Marlins are really bad. You just had a really, really, really brutal 6-game stretch against 2 good teams, 1-5. You got a chance to really bounce back in a big way against legitimately 2 of the worst records in baseball. Talk about it more tomorrow. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in as always. Again, sorry for this was just I'm rattled. That was a really frustrating ball game. But I appreciate you all continuing to support even after a rough loss like that. And we'll be back tomorrow. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch you all then, baby. Go Tigers.